Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of BC Plus Live. I'm your host, Jeremiah, with my co host.
Andy, KC9SKV.
And tonight we have a special guest from RT Systems, Miss Karen, KD4DXX, all the
Good
way
evening to everybody.
Good evening. So, first of all, do want to say if the weather gets hairy, please bear with us because Karen is down south where that hurricane's going to be coming through in that general area. And we absolutely want her and her family to be safe most of all. So if she has to scoot out for safety's sake, please bear with us for that because we want to make sure that she's safe.
Yes, we're in LaGrange, Georgia, and we are in the path of this hurricane, but they've pushed it back for several hours. So I should be good to visit with all of you for a while.
Awesome. Glad to have you with us.
Likewise, because I know you guys have helped me out a lot, and I'm sure you've helped several people in the audience out a lot. My first radio was an ICOM 7000, was the first one I got the software for from you guys. And that made programming that thing so much easier. So a personal thank you from me for that, because that definitely helped out. And I've got to speak to your customer service when my cable broke. You guys knew exactly what I needed, how to fix it, and made sure I was taken care of. So I greatly appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad it could help. That's what we're here for.
All right. So I guess the first question that I've got is why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how, the idea for RT Systems came about?
Well, that's an interesting story. RT Systems actually started in 1990 with the program SAM, Search for Amateurs, which was the first computerized database. Actually, it was the second. There was Buckmaster, but the first thing you had to buy was a $600 CD-ROM drive. And ours was the first one on disk that took 9 megs, really. And this was a big deal in 1990 when computers had 10 meg hard drive. No, I'm not saying this wrong. And we crushed down 167 megs of data to 9 megs and went on from there. And it went from there to having a ham radio store in Huntsville, Alabama for a while. And when we had the store, Yaesu introduced 2 radios, the FT11 and the FT51, that they said cloned. And my husband was given a gift, and we, to this day, believe it was a gift from God. And that was the insane curiosity of, I wonder if we can make this talk to a computer. And he did. And the rest is history from there. That's where it started. It started out with the Yaesu name, and they distributed it, but it was our software because we just weren't big enough to handle distribution on it. And it went from there, and we came out from under their wing probably 8 or 9 years later, retained the ADMS, but then it became ADMS instead of a letter and a number. It has the radio name in the title of it. And it goes on from there. We now do, this is after 29 years of just doing radio programming. We now do over 600 different radios. And you call and you ask me about a certain radio, and I will sit there and say, let me go get it, because of 600 radios, you would be amazed how differently they can do anything, from changing from VFO to memory to just anything. And that's one place that we differ so greatly from other tech support, is the fact that when you call me about a radio, I go get the radio. I own all these radios, except a very few of them I don't. And we can get it. We can get your file. I heard one of the tech support guys saying today, let me get your file and put it in my radio, and we'll figure out if it's something in the file or if it's a button you're pushing. because it very well just could be a button you don't realize is causing the erratic behavior. And we'll help walk you through it so you can then enjoy the radio more. We don't get into a lot of the real fancy functions of the radio. I can't tell you how F8 works at all. But I can explain tones to you. I can tell you why your radio has a single display instead of a double display that you expect it to. I can tell you how to set up banks easily. I can tell you why you want to set up banks or not. And these kind of things. I work with the radio's features rather than so much their functionality. So we're just sort of on a different level with it, and still a good source of information about these radios. And we go on today. They keep making radios and we keep making programmers.
Yes. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I certainly hope you guys continue to do so. You know, I've got RT systems for just about every radio I own. So from Yaesu to ICOM to Kenwood, you name it, I've got your software. I love it, and I hope you guys continue pushing through and continue to make a great product, because I'll keep buying.
Thank you, Andy. Let me interrupt you just a second. Like Andy says, he has it for Yaesu, for Kenwood, for ICOM. You might have it for Bofang. You might have it for Retivus. You might have it for HYS. And remember, you can copy and paste memory channel information from one to the other. So you get a new radio, you buy $25 worth of software. If it comes with a cable, we recommend that you try the cable that it comes with first, because we will work with other cables. We have COM-port set up now. But then once you have done the initial get data from, and that's where we differ quite a bit from other software, you do not have to get data from every time you want to start a file. You do it once after the installation to sync the radio to the computer so the programmer has a better idea of what it's talking to, but you don't have to do it every time. You want a new file, file new, and you got a new file and you're ready to go. And so you pick it up out of the Kenwood and you paste it into the Quoshang radio. And we match up the likes, we skip the differences, and we default anything that's missing. Save the file up, send it to the radio, and within minutes, your new radio is programmed like your original radio. I'm going to show you that a little bit here in a minute. Actually working with DMR radios and coming out, they bring the analog world into the DMR radio and show you how easy that is to get that set up.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, keep going. I love it. I got a question for you. What was the first radio that you guys created software for?
The FT11 and the FT51. They were two separate pieces of software, and but they came along right at the same time. So that was the very first one. And the FT51 went away because it was interesting to watch the electronics in the radio no longer match up with the COM-port electronics in the operating system. And it was the first one to drop off because its timing was bad. And as Windows tightened timing on the COM-port, the FT51 just could not respond to it. And I think the FT11 went away purely because my radio went away. And once I don't have a radio to test with, I feel it's necessary to pull the programmer, because you call with problem and I can't test, and I won't sell something that I can't support all the way from the computer to the radio. So those are two. I've probably only lost 8 or 9 over the years is all that we've had to pull. And most of them have been timing issues with the computer.
Okay. That's an interesting problem to run into.
It was interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So one question that I've got is, when you guys got started, Where did the name RT Systems come from, and how long did it take you guys to come up with that name?
It didn't take long, and technically it stands for Rod and Tom. Tom is Rod's brother, and he helped us. He was a developer at the time. Rod was not quite as much into it, and he helped us along with the first one with us right at his elbow, knowing what he was doing and him explaining to us what he was doing. And now, of course, we have Rod Thompson. So Tom is no longer with the company. So you can think of it as Rod Thompson Systems. And what's interesting is while I was a part of it from the very beginning, by the time I stood up and said, no, it should be RTK Systems, we had name recognition. So I'm not in the name, although I've been there since the very beginning.
But you're definitely there in the support and in the spirit of the company.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just so you know, everybody, when you call and you need to talk to RT Systems, you're probably going to talk to Karen.
No, you probably are not going to talk to Karen because Karen runs the company, and there's a lot to running the company. I have 4 other people who do tech support. They do a wonderful job with it. If they can't get the job done, you are welcome to ask for me, but realize it will probably be a callback because they'll have to, find me. Am I talking to FedEx, or am I talking to another supplier, or am I doing something like that? Because there's a lot to run in this company.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the one singular issue that I had with the software, and it was a me issue. I got to talk to you, and that was the first go about. That was the first phone call I had made, and spoke directly with you.
Lunchtime, late in the day, Saturdays, I cover when tech support is thin, but general counting on it being me. Don't get your hopes up. They do a good job of protecting me so I can get other things done, like payroll, those kind of things.
Yeah, everyone needs to get paid.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So what is your favorite thing about your customers?
My very, very favorite thing in the world, and why I still do this 5 years after I should have retired, and will continue doing it, figuring for the next 10 years or so, is that it works. The working with a customer, doing a remote connection, getting a radio programmed. Realize we're not in the business to totally build your file for you, but that aha moment, oh, I can get this done, getting you started with it, and then that, oh, this works. That is what I do it for. That's what we all do it for. We love the success, your success. That is truly what it is worth, or what it is all for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can definitely say I know where you're coming from, because that's one of the reasons that I do what I do, is when somebody is so excited and you can hear it in their voice that something's finally working that they couldn't figure out. Mm-hmm. And they sound like a kid in a candy store, or a kid on Christmas morning that just got their present that they wanted most of all. The excitement that hits you right in the heart, because you know that you helped somebody, and that's one of the best feelings in the world, is getting that recognition just from the sound of their voice that you were able to help them.
Absolutely.
So, okay. This one's going to be probably a question some people are going to like. Some people are going to be like, But what was probably the most challenging radio to build the software for? Was it a DMR radio, a D-Star radio?
Absolutely. The DMR radios. We put the DMR radios off for probably 3 years. Just, we don't do DMR. We don't do DMR. And in all honesty, an off-road company came out with a DMR radio, but they did not want full DMR. It was a DMR radio because they had to have digital to get them into the country. And that's when we started learning about DMR, because we could do it simply. We didn't have to know everything at one time. And that's when we finally delved into it. And you think tech support is interesting with hams who know something about radio, you ought to try doing tech support with off-roaders. The only good thing about them is they know they don't know anything. And so they're very willing to do what you tell them and follow your instructions, and they just want it to work. So, but that was another thing I held out on, is what's tech support going to be like? And it turned out to not be a problem at all. They were very pleasant to work with. We do a lot of it with a lot of different people, and we do all we can to get things working.
Well, awesome. So I know this is a question from our YouTube. Somebody wanted to know, does the software include any previous public service radios that cover amateur bands? And I don't think I've seen any that you guys make, like any Motorola's or anything like that. So I'm assuming that's a no on that one, just because Motorola has a proprietary software that they don't want people copying and stuff for good reason.
Well, I think that comes down to legality as well, because Motorola has a lot of money
and
a lot of patents.
Deep
Yes.
pockets and lots of lawyers. I would
Yes.
not be sitting here today had we ever touched a Motorola radio. So,
Yep, fair enough.
Believe it or not, I have parts I sell to them, but other than that, I don't do business with Motorola.
So yeah, no, I understand. It'd be cool. I mean, if there were some end of life products that they manufacture that you'd be able to create some software for, but unfortunately, they have really deep pockets and lots of lawyers, and they like playing that game with people. So I understand.
So they do a whole lot more than a cease and desist.
Oh yes, they do.
Yes.
I know somebody who's currently dealing with Mother M right now, and it's not a fun game.
Right. So I don't do Motorola at all.
Understandable.
Well, the one thing that I have to say is we are so grateful that you are here tonight. Yes. And you're able to be with us, because I think for all of our BC Plus members on the Zoom call, as well as the people that are watching the free show on YouTube, this is a chance for them to learn more about RT systems and a little bit of the magic behind the scenes with you guys. So with that being said, I know you've got a presentation that you already have ready to go. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you and let you get to it. And for the BC Plus members, just keep an eye on the chat and Zoom for the link to the giveaway tonight. That is in there. And will be posted every so many minutes, so you guys can keep entering the giveaway that's exclusively for BC Plus members. That giveaway will let you have a chance to win a gift certificate from RT Systems tonight, as well as a AnyTone D578 UV3 Plus radio.
Sounds good.
So,
well, I'll take it, and we're going to go to the programmers. Enough about me. Let's look at the fun stuff here. An RT Systems programmer. One thing about them is that they will always look very similar. And the beauty of that is you know the software when you see it. Remember, though, that not only do we do memory channels, this happens to be a DMR radio I've got up here, zones, talk groups, scan list, everything about it. We do everything in the background. This takes just a second to come up. There we go. Page after page after page after page of setting. And all but one of my 600 plus programmers have this setting screen, and that one little receiver has so little that we put the frequencies and the settings on the main page. But let's say that you're coming out of the analog world and you're coming into the digital world. You have done your initial get data from your radio. It's either empty or it's programmed. As I said, once you've done that, you can always do File, New, and start a new one and save that configuration so you have it for later. But you've got the RT Systems programmer for your analog radio. Let me go over this one real quick. Let me bring this down here. You notice we have receive and transmit, and here we have a correct frequency. Here we have an offset frequency, which is over here. Offset direction, operating mode, bandwidth, name. So you see there's lots of differences. The best way I can describe programming software in radios is the radio has got to be talking to a twin of itself for it to work, or you will feed it poison and literally kill your radio. And you don't want to do that. But when it's on the computer, now I can do computer things to it. And so let's say you had the FTM 400, and notice it has band A and band B, limit memories and home memories. So you see their differences there. And it has settings. Like I said, every programmer has behind the scenes settings. These are things you set once, as opposed to things on the main screen that you set 500 times. But I can take this and I'm holding my mouse and I'm coming down across the numbers, or even easier, I can go Control A, which is a Windows command for all of it. If you happen to be working Macs, that's Command A. I'll make Windows people out of you yet. And then Control C, and again on the Mac, that's Command C. And I can reach right over here into a DMR program, and I've got to click on it so the poor computer knows where it's going. Remember, computers are idiots. You got to tell it. And Control V or Command V. There's my file. There are all my frequencies. Just that quick and easy. Now, this file is not complete. You're coming out of the analog world into the digital world, and I got to have a zone, and I'm going to have an analog, if I can spell, zone. Click right over here and edit, and it's a finger wiggle. Or I can take it and just take all of them and add, and all of them and add. And notice I have a counter up here. I've got 57 out of 250, and add. I had a bunch of them in there, didn't I? You get the idea. Okay. I just keep going till I get to the bottom of it, or I can randomly select. I'm holding the Control key and add those and build this zone. The zone is a breakdown. How do I want to use them together? And the thing about building this file, I told you I couldn't spell, is these are all the same channels again. So if for some reason I either run over the 250 because it really looks like I'm going to, yep. And then I can put the rest of, well, there were 216. I can put the rest of them in another zone, or I can go back up here and pick up some of the same ones and add them to this zone. Now, on the DMR radios or radios with zones, you're going to see these channels in this order. Notice the channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. There's actually a setting to let you go back and forth between them. But if I wanted this number, let's pick one, this number 211, I want it on top. when I go to this zone, I just move up and it's there. Move down, put it back where it was. Okay. So just that quick and easy, I've got that set up and ready to go to the radio. The few channels that are displayed here are there. So if you've got a whole bunch of zones, you have a better idea of what's in that zone so you can see your organization. But best is to name it well so you can see it. We're going to save this. The DMR file, if you've done this much, you know it's a complicated file where one part of it depends on another part of it, depends on another part of it. With that in mind, I recommend strongly that you save the file before you leave a screen, especially if you've done changes to it. Okay. So now you have your analog, you put it in the radio. In RT Systems Programmer, communications is between the radio and the computer. Okay, get and send, plain English. You know which way we're getting from the radio, we're sending to the radio. And all the instructions come up right here. Don't try to outthink it. Just follow the instructions. Every now and then we didn't say, like here, click OK to start transferring the data. We did not say click OK on the computer, but there isn't an OK on the radio. There's an OK right here. So it's pretty much complete. Don't skip steps. Follow the steps as you see them on the screen. We'll put them up there as you need them. So now you're finished with this. You've put it in your radio. You've used it for a while. Let's come down here. Now you're ready to get into DMR. First of all, edit in digital mode. And my goodness gracious, everything disappeared because I don't have anything digital in this file yet. But what I have also done is I have eliminated, notice there are no tones up here because there are no tones in digital. I can do the same thing. Let's spread everything back out and let's go to analog mode. And now all my digital went away. So you don't have all those columns that you have to worry about. Let's put it back in digital mode. Okay. So digital mode starts with talk groups. I cannot do this for you. You have to decide what talk groups you want in there. And in Brandmeister alone, there are 19,000 talk groups. Well, based on what I did with D-Star years ago when I was more active with being on the radio, I got on 30 Charlie and I stayed on 30 Charlie. And I was on 30 Charlie every morning from 9 to 10. And people knew me and I knew who I was talking to. It's like having a local repeater and a local group, and you know the guys that are coming. So you really want to list where you have some variety to get around and listen, but you've got some where you know your friends gather. And as long as you can get to it, whatever repeater, whatever DVAP or electronic device you want to use, you can get to it. You can be a part of that group at any time. So that, and like I said, a few others you're good with. Now, you can go to Brandmeister, you can go to TGIF, and there's some others where you can download a CSV, and we do import that. So that's fine. You can put all 19,000 in here. I have a video on that on my channel that'll show you how to do that import. Not hard. I think it's harder to go find the file. But the other thing we have is the contact list. And I have to admit, the contact list is kind of neat. I can do any part of the world, or I can do all contacts. And I am not going to click on that because it takes in a minute to come back. If I do any part of the world like the United States, I can tell it a state, it likes it typed out. I can tell it a city, again, spell it right, because I've got 500,000 to work with, and they will fill this grid. Contact list to radio. You connect your radio, you click that, I would actually recommend you set the radio down before you click that, because setting the radio down can disturb it. And you go away for about, do it right before lunch, and it should be done when you get back. It can take a while, 10 minutes to get the whole list to the radio. Somebody will tell you if they're not happy. You don't have to worry about the select all or unselect or anything, but that will get your contact list in your radio. It is not something to be edited. It's anytime you want. It's coming from ID Radio, I think it is. It's coming from the main source of all the registrations. Okay. Just your normal talk groups is limited to 10,000. These will be private calls, though, not your group calls. So it's mainly group calls you want. So that is a part of the program. But back to this, we have some talk groups. These are just numbers I made up, I'll warn you. Let's go back to zones for a minute. And I'm going to have a home zone and a Florida zone that's going to be for my DMR memories, because I'm at home in LaGrange and I have a house in Florida. So I want to be able to get to them. So I come back and my goodness, now I got to set up a channel for every one of them and all that typing. Well, settings, DMR calculator. In LaGrange, my frequency is 445.350. And only tab works here. I'll warn you, if you hit enter, it'll just clear it. So it's a tab. Notice it already knows it's a 5 meg offset. It's minus. If it's not, just change it. I'm going to start at channel 217. That's the one at the top here. I'm going to use talk group as the name of the channel. Over here, I have all my talk groups. If I want them all, it's one click. On this one, my color code is 5, and they want me on time slot 2, and I want all these at home. And I apply. I'm done. So now I'm going to go to Florida, and that repeater down there is 145.750. I know it's unheard of, a 2-meter repeater. 600 kilohertz offset minus, and I'm going to start at channel 230, just because I like to skip spaces. That one's color code 14. They still want me on time slot 2. And we're going to use Florida. And this apply to first available. If I had 19,000 talk groups, which I could have, I could put apply to first, and it will start in the first one and keep moving and moving and moving, filling the 250 as it goes. And when it gets to the bottom of your list, it'll start creating them called zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and it'll just keep going automatically 250 at the time until it's done. And we're going to apply, and there they are. And close this and save it. And notice my color codes, my repeater slots, my talk group names, and I'm ready to go. If I had built a group list but forgot to tell it, I didn't build a group list, sorry. GROUP 1. Building a group list, because the group list lets you monitor other talk groups. Okay, whoops, I didn't do what I said. Let's save that. Now, I want them all to be able to monitor that group. So I have it there, Control C, Shift down arrow, Control V. Now they're all in, they've got group list 1 assigned. so much easier than having to open and close and open and close and open and close for each one as we go. If I want to use APRS, I can do the same kind of thing. And you get the point. I can do it with any one of these. Okay. So just that quick and easy, I have it built, and it still has everything in it. There's all the analog, there's all the digital, ready to go to the radio. Radio ID, make sure it's your ID and not the default we put in it. Name is call sign or name, whatever you want to be displayed. It's your radio ID that's critical. And you're ready to go. Okay. Can we do questions, Jeremiah?
Yes. So one question that has come across is two questions I should say is, will there be a Mac version for the AnyTones?
Yes, we're working on it now.
Awesome.
Oh, awesome. That's probably the biggest one that I get
is Mac.
That's why I can't buy the AnyTone, is because I don't have a Windows computer.
First, we didn't think the drivers were going to work, and we had to get past that hurdle. And when we found out the drivers would work, then it was just a matter of time of getting somebody to work on it. And it's a big project, so it's still probably a month out, but it is actively being worked on right now.
Yeah, I know it's way different. And I want to follow that up with, and unfortunately, I feel like the answer, I know what the answer might be, but it's along the same lines. Any Linux support at all?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
You knew what the answer was.
I knew it.
And in all honesty, when Linux decides to not let you guys mess with the kernel, we might think about it. But considering you can adjust the kernel, that gives me infinitely many operating systems to work with.
Yep, fair enough. I understand that. That just makes a lot more problems.
Yes.
And it goes back to that timing thing that you were talking about earlier.
Oh, not only that, but there's all kinds of other things. I mean, Mac is enough to chase.
Yes.
Believe me.
Yes.
Let's see here. I'm scrolling through here. All right, here's a good one. How does RT Systems ensure that its radio programming software remains compatible with the latest radio models and technology advancements?
We own everything. I probably own 7 Macs, so I can have one of each operating system that we work with. We own computers. I have to admit, we do not have an 8.1 in the office any longer, but we have a 10. You're right. We have a 10 that we won't upgrade so that we can check things on 10 when we need it. So we can test funky cables when we need to. But everybody else has gone to 11. We know about things sometimes, especially with Windows, before they happen, because we get beta versions, but we do not support anything, Mac or Windows, until it is a released version.
Yep.
And when it's released, in all honesty, we play duck. And we look real calm on the surface, and we're beating like hell to catch up underneath.
Understandable.
That is truly what it boils down to. I mean, it was probably 2 rounds of Mac ago, they came out with a dark mode that our installer just did not like. Well, the first person that calls and says the installer doesn't work, well, we get on it and we figure out what's wrong. And unfortunately, all we could do at that point was say, take it out of dark mode and install, and then the program runs in dark mode, but the installer didn't. And then we figured out a way to fix it in the installer, so we didn't have to chase after it like that.
Awesome.
But and we'll do that. And you have to remember, we have a very robust knowledge base. And let's see what I've got running here from our site. Sorry, it'll be up in just a second. This is what I want, RT Systems. From our knowledge base, you can come here and you can find answers on all kinds of things. Because what it boils down to is I do over 600 radios. If you think I remember something I figured out last week, you're probably wrong. So we write it down. We write down all kinds of things.
You make notes, and you keep notes as you go and find things.
Very much so. And I push my tech support guys to do the same thing. Please write it down. So I mean, I have a whole section on DMR, getting started, basic file creation. There are 12 of them here, and most of them are videos. And you get to listen to me explaining things. So, but they're on all the radios like this. So it's a good database, and it's very searchable.
It kind of reminds me of a thing that my dad used to say all the time was write it down. And he always had 3x5 index cards. He'd write things down. He'd think of something, he'd write it down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Right. None of us have Alzheimer's. We have too much to remember.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, like you said, you weren't. You've got a Windows 10 machine there that you're not going to upgrade. You know, I do professional radio programming. You know, Motorola stuff, public safety stuff at work on literally every single day, and they gave me a new machine, and it had Windows 11 on it, and I said, this is not going to work. There are softwares that I run that will not run in Windows 11 yet. Mm-hmm. So I had to have them circumvent their policy because, you know, Windows 10 is going end of life. Mm-hmm. So they backdated me and put me back on 10, and, you know, we're all hunky dory right now, but eventually, you know, hopefully all the softwares will run in 11, and I will be forced to go to 11. I'm not even running 11 on this machine that I built, that I'm on right now, that I built at the end of last year. I'm on 10. 10 mm-hmm. works.
It's working. The other thing, firmware upgrades. Remember, we don't hear about firmware upgrades until you guys tell us. You know, somebody tells us. We get a radio, we upgrade it, we look and see what's different, we update programmers. If there has been a firmware update that affects the program, you have to do two things. You've upgraded with three things. You have upgraded your radio. You will have to get an update from us. That's help and check for updates. And you'll have to do a get data from your radio to let the program know that you have upgraded your radio. And I don't want to lose all of this I've worked to do. So file new, communications, get data from radio. You can throw that file out. I've got what I need, and I'm holding it where I need to access it. You can come back to this file, because I promise you your radio's empty now, and do communications and send data to, and everything will seamlessly go to your radio. But it doesn't happen instantly. It takes those steps, and it can take us a little time to get a firmware update worked in. With that said, AnyTone radios and their firmware updates and their versions that work under the covers, you do not have to worry about matching RT system software to whatever mode or firmware version or whatever it is you've got in your radio. That get data from takes care of it, and then we match up to it every time we send to it. Now, if you're doing a whole lot of radios, you may have to stop and do a get data from to be able to send back to it. And it's a tad inconvenient, but it's 45 seconds, and you're ready to program with the same file. You're not hunting through different versions of the program trying to find the one you're looking for to go with that radio that you've got. So,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
they're just some things you have to work with this animal to make it work. And some radios are a little more complicated than others. But I got to show you one last thing that I didn't show you. I'm working
Let's
in the
see it.
578 right here. Okay. We're going to reduce this. We're going to get rid of the 400. This is the 878. This is the handheld. These are both RT Systems programmers. And I'm going to do File Open. And it's looking in the 578 directory. And I'm going to tell it all files.
All files.
And I'm pretty sure that was Mount Vernon too. Yep, 926. And I'm going to double click on it. And takes it a minute. Here's my file.
Boom. Easy as that.
I have my analog. I have my, down here somewhere, my digital. I have my zones. I have my talk groups. Anything else that I've built. And it's ready to go to the 878.
Yep. This is something that the AnyTone software cannot do, is open the files between the 878 and the 578. You've actually got to do the tool export and then tool import on the AnyTone software. So this is a big space or time saver option for people as well if they have both radios, is to be able to do this.
It is a time saver. Now, you will need to touch up your settings in the background. We don't sort through those because, believe it or not, they're the same settings basically, but they decided to do some rearranging of under the covers. So it's kind of interesting. Yes. You have to remember, we look at these radios on a completely different level than the normal user. And it's real interesting what we see that other people never see. They see the similarities and we see the differences.
Yes. Now, just so you guys are aware, there is a new firmware version that came out for the 878 UV2 Plus and the 878 UV 3.04 that has an optional setting export in it now.
Yep.
So that did recently come out. And they are working on a new one for the 578 as well that'll have that feature.
Right. And it has to do with satellites, and we are already working on it. And we have just a ton of questions. So we will get it figured out. But that one's going to be a little while, in all honesty.
Yes. Understandable. It's a whole nother ball game.
Mm-hmm.
A whole nother animal to tackle. One of the things that is probably going to be a question that you guys have probably already gotten is the programming cable that is used between the AnyTones and also works with some of the TYT radios like the MD380 and MD390s and UV390s and UV380s. They effectively use the same cable. Mm-hmm. One question that I know some people have asked is there going to be a USB-C version of that cable instead of a USB Type A version?
No, I have an A to C adapter that works well. But the other thing, A to C adapters are generally very universal. I have not met one that does not work. Go to Walmart, buy one for $5, and I bet you it'll work. I would be real surprised if it doesn't work because I have bought them off of Amazon for $3 and they work.
Yep.
So yes, I usually buy 4-gangers. Yeah.
I actually have 3 different USB-C to USB Type A cable adapters, and I've tried it with both the AnyTone 878 and 578 cables, and it works fine on my USB-C hub.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I would love to see an actual programming cable with a native USB-C end on it.
Well,
maybe one day.
I've got one for the 578. I don't have one for the 878, but I've got one for the 578.
578.
You just hadn't looked far enough yet.
But anyway, guess not.
Speaking of cables, notice the RT Systems cables and all their colors. Can you imagine these all being black and trying to keep up with what was what? thing about
Yes,
it.
because every other cable that I have is black.
It's black. Mm-hmm.
Well, for people that want to see, one of the cables, I actually have the programming cable right here for my FT3D. So that is the yellowish orange cable for that.
Yay,
It's
there it
part
is.
USB 6.8 on the RT Systems website.
Look at that. That is
There-
perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we have this, we have the USB-B, and we have the USB Mini B, which is the one that's almost square but little on the other end. We have those three in C, but not the K connector. I'm sorry, but I'm not chasing all of them right now. I'm
Understandable.
still using USB-A and adapters for now.
Yeah. Well,
But I
that's
got
cool.
this
That
one.
it's cool. It's cool to see that. I would love to see the K style with a USB-C on it one of these days. I would love, because USB-C seems to be just taking over the world, and that's great. And I think it should. I think it's a great connector. And I would love to start seeing cables with that.
Actually, when it starts taking over the world a little bit faster, we'll move to USB-C. Right this minute,
I
it's still
understand.
moving slowly enough.
Yep, absolutely. I understand. But this is great. Yeah, you even list off what all radios that cable will work for.
Absolutely. Not only that, but this download complete RT Systems guide. Find any cable on my page and you will find that link. And this is my product guide.
Awesome.
And it shows every cable and every radio it works with.
Yes.
And actually, we just introduced a new cable, and my graphic artist pointed out to me that it's not in here yet, but we just introduced it last week. And see, that's the other thing about our cables is instead of fishing around on Amazon and wondering if a cable will work, you know that I have a cable that I have used on this radio. I have designed for this radio. I have gone back and forth with my supplier until they get it right. And if it doesn't work, you can call us.
Yeah. Here's a decent question in the very beginning for you. Did you guys hand make any of your cables?
We still hand make our cables.
Oh, you do? That's awesome.
I have 3 people in house. That's all they do is solder cables, because they come in. That's where the banding comes from. This cable and the 57A are the same raw cable.
Okay.
But they are soldered to 2 different boards because I have 3 different boards that I work with. And this 72 is connected to a different board. And so my production people know, or my packaging people know immediately that they've picked up a different cable. We band it.
So you know for sure.
I mean, it has a label on the head that says USB 72, but it's faster to spot a band than it is to have to stop and read.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm assuming that you get your USB boards and cases made for you, and then you hand solder in the cables that you need.
Correct.
That is awesome. I love it.
In the wiring that we need, because like I think this 81 cable is used for 2 different things. Well, my biggest one is this modular cable. I had all 8 pins wired when I had that done, and that cable is now used in 7 different applications.
Oh, wow.
Because the manufacturer will wire different pins for their programming in their 8-pin connection. And so I've gotten my mileage out of this cable.
So when you spec'd that out, you had all 8 pins pinned in that RJ45 then?
Correct.
Awesome. So you use one cable and just change the pins, what's soldered onto your board.
Right. Change the wiring as needed to match the the radio.
That's perfect. I love it.
Mhm.
Absolutely love it. That is fantastic to know that you guys are still doing that.
Yep. Like I said, I've got 3 people in house that that's what they do, is
Yeah.
they do the wiring. Now the other thing that
Oh,
this has, let me scroll down here real quick. This is a cross reference. Manufacturer, radio, what program it uses, what cable it uses. So a lot of times you know your radio and which cable is it. Instead of searching through the book, you can come right here and see which cable it is.
That's great. I love that you guys have this cross reference. This is just invaluable information.
You're welcome to download it and have it handy. Um, download it about every 6 months, probably. We make changes to it.
Make changes.
Other than that, we may add a few radios, but there won't be major changes.
Okay.
one thing that somebody had asked on YouTube was USB to DB25, and I think I just saw you do scroll past the USB to DB9 a second ago.
Yep.
Yeah, that's as close as I
Yep.
can come. You'd have to add your own DB9 to DB25, and there it's going to get real tricky because not all of those adapters are wired the
Are
same.
the same. Exactly. And I've
Yep.
run into that personally.
So, I mean, if he has one that he knows works, it would work with this. But if he's looking for a cable to work with the, it's a packet controller. Associated Radio, and I apologize for mentioning him, but this is a very special cable that he makes that goes from USB to, and it's our USB circuitry, to DB25 just to interface to that packet controller. So if that's what he's looking for, that's who he needs to contact for it.
Awesome. That is, yeah, no, that's something you guys have put in a lot of time and effort into manufacturing your, specking out your guys' ends. And it's nice to know that you can, for example, you can buy 10,000 of those RJ45s and use it across several different models of radios. That's cost savings for you. I mean, you just one and done, and you guys put in the R&D into having your ends made and having your chip and your boards made for you. That's, I don't see too many other really anyone doing that at all. So that's fantastic.
We have been FTDI since 2009, I think it was, when we introduced USB. We are moving away from that just a little bit because there are some other chips that are just as good. We are not moving to prolific, but we are. I've got one cable right now that uses something other than an FTDI chip. So,
is it working the way you're expecting it to work?
Absolutely. We know
Awesome.
the ID that's in it. We program all of these, even if they have a different chip, we program it with our ID. And that's something about our programmers. Let me go back to the programmer. Let's not do these two. Let's do this one. When I do communications, this is going to be hard to see because of my mouse. The first two are get and send data, then read from SD card and write to SD card. And then we have COM port setup. Okay. COM port setup is for folks that want to use a cable that in this case is not Yaesu's cable and is not our cable. Those two cables we know the ID on, and all you need to do is get data from radio, and we're going to find it automatically. Skip COM port setup. If you're using our cable, or like I said, in this case, Yaesu's cable, we're going to find it. But in the case of a Bofang radio where you're using the manufacturer's cable, we don't know what that cable is. We know nothing about it. And that's where you're going to go to COM port setup and tell it what COM port the cable's on. We'll give you as much information as we can so you can pick it out of the group. And Once you do that, you tell it okay, and it goes on. You can look in Device Manager from here and see your list of what you've got, play with things, plug and unplug. And in all honesty, every now and then we have to tell it for our cable, but usually there are 5 or 6 or 7 other things plugged in. And as I said, the computer's an idiot. We have to help it occasionally.
Yep.
And once we get it pointed to the right COM port, it goes right on and does just fine with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You just got to steer it in the right direction.
That's right. Remember, you are smarter than that machine. It just thinks differently.
It does. It very much does. Now, I've seen a question here. Where exactly can we find that PDF document with all of your compatibilities?
Okay. Let me go back to my website. If I can find it. There it is. My website. Go to any manufacturer, any radio, and any cable. And scroll down, and it's at the bottom of the description.
Perfect. Love it.
Okay. And the only one I would not pick is the K4Y if you get on something that's got the K4Y, because you're going to be scrolling for a while to get to the bottom of that list. That's my most used one. So if you see that one, go pick something else.
Yep. And I just posted the that link by copying that link address into our YouTube, because there were some people that were having some issues finding that. And I'll go ahead and post it here in our BC Plus as well. That way everyone has a direct link to it.
And you got this link, the actual PDF link. Okay.
Correct.
And we're always very careful not to move that. As you can tell, I've got too many places on my website that it's tied to.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, definitely. So we have 2 drawings tonight.
Yes, we do.
One of them is for our YouTube subscribers that are watching to see who wins a BC Plus annual membership. So we have that. And then the second drawing is for our BC Plus members who are on the Zoom call for a AnyTone D578 and a gift certificate from RT Systems. So if you give me just a second, I will get us our winner for YouTube. And let's see, is Mr. William Campbell, KF8BLP, Bravo Lima Papa. Are you still in the live stream with us?
We're taking a look here.
See if he is still here. Otherwise, we will have to pick somebody else, because you got to be present to win. All right. I don't see anything yet. Andy, if you want to keep an eye out for a minute here.
Yep, I am taking a look here.
All right. Karen, again, thank you for being here tonight.
Yes.
And all the great information that you were able to provide. And especially the update with the Mac software. You just made a lot of people happy with the AnyTones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
That's
great.
That's been the biggest. That's been one of the biggest things. There's a significant amount of Mac users out here that really love AnyTone products, and well, they want to stay Mac.
I understand. Yep. We'll do what we can to help them.
The one thing that I do need to point out, and maybe this has changed and I don't know it yet. If there's a firmware update, you do have to use the AnyTone software for doing the firmware update on your radio.
That's correct. We do not mess with the firmware updates. That is between you and the manufacturer.
Yes. All right. So I don't see William responding in
I don't
YouTube.
either.
So let's repick the winner and see who we've got here. Is John Stein, K9JWS. Are you still in the YouTube stream?
John Stein. John Stein.
Keep an
We're
eye
taking
out
a
here.
look here. Yep, we're looking. We're looking. We're looking.
It may come down to one of those where we may have to forego the original rule about having to be present on YouTube to win. If the third one isn't here for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got
Or
a feeling
give it
we're going to
away
have to go
next
to a
week.
third one.
Yeah, yeah.
All
13
right.
chat entries from bottom was Bill Campbell. Where did Bill go? Oh yeah, he was here and
he left.
Yep, and that's yeah, he certainly did. Looky there, I see where he said have a great evening, everyone. So, well, pays to stick around.
Yes. All right. Let's see. Tony Christensen on YouTube. Are you here?
Tony Christensen. Tony Christensen. We're doing the drawing.
Hoping he is still here.
Oh, Tony, Mr. Christensen.
Well, Crystal's here, so if she entered and just happens to be the next one on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. It says ARC3, Tony, that's me, Tony Christensen.
Arc 3.
Okay. Kilo Foxtrot 0, TRC. All right. Well, okay. Well, what do you think, Andy? Should we go ahead and just take and ARC, Anthony, my initials. Okay. Since I don't want to give out anybody's email on the air,
yeah, no, definitely don't do that.
Is I will email Tony to let them know that they won the annual BridgeCom Plus membership, and that way they are able to get in and get that set up. And for our BC Plus members, let's go ahead and get over to them real quick. And let's find out who won that 578 and that gift certificate for RT Systems.
Ooh, it's exciting.
Now, Karen, do you want to let them know how much that gift certificate's for?
That gift certificate is for $60 worth of RT Systems programmers and cables, whichever you need. And you don't have to use it all at one time. You can come back and use it again.
All right. And this will be one of the new AnyTone D578 radios, the UV3 Plus, that does have the new AT chip in it, that has been out for a while. And I have used the RT System software with it, so it does work. All right. And all right. William Boutwell, are you here? I am looking. Let's see.
I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking some more. So many people in here.
Don't see him yet. Yeah, we've got 62 people on Zoom right now, and we at our peak we had 130 that we're
Yes.
watching live on YouTube.
Yes, absolutely. We've got currently 95 on the YouTube list. So that's fantastic. Tonight's been a fantastic night.
Yes.
All
Everybody, again, thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. We were
Yes.
very happy that Karen had some time to work us into her busy schedule to give us some insight into RT Systems, their software, and how everything works.
Glad
So
I could be
again,
here.
thank you for being here, Karen. So again, William Boutwell, I'm looking for you here.
Yeah, I'm taking a look and have not found. We do have a bill. Yeah, I don't see.
William, if you are here, can you put something in the general chat on Zoom
Yeah.
to let us know you're here?
Yes, please. Yeah, glad we were able to get Karen in. We're getting these astounding, extremely informative presentations. Just everyone just absolutely loved tonight. This was great. This is just lots of information.
I'm glad I could be here to answer questions and let all of you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have one question from Carol, our newest ham. She wants to know if there is a membership that she could buy to get access to the software.
We have never been able to figure out a membership plan that would really be beneficial. We just sell it, sell you the modules that you need for your radios and keep it updated. Remember, help and check for updates probably every time you run it, because software is a living thing. There'll be something out there for it.
Yep.
And if not necessarily for it, but possibly for some of the background files. And we'll keep you up to date and keep it running. You got to remember version 5 has been going for 7 years now. And I don't have plans at this point to go to version 7. 6 is our Mac version. So it's going to keep running for a while here.
I will say that if you were to offer a subscription service, I absolutely would. I help so many people. People come to me for programming issues, and this would be extremely beneficial for me to be able to just go in, pay one lump sum, and have that access so that I can just help as many people as possible. So if you ever do that, I'm in.
Okay, I'll keep you in mind.
Okay, so I didn't see anything in the chat from William.
I didn't either.
Showing he was here.
I've been looking here.
But this person I do know is here because I'm staring at him right on my screen, at the top of my screen. And he has a very unique call sign. N2DUI.
N2DUI. Yes.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Alan.
There you go.
You
Alan.
are the winner of the 578 and the gift certificate tonight.
All right.
Dude.
Fantastic.
Congrats, man.
That's what I needed. I've been borrowing a 578 for a couple months from a friend trying to get familiar with it.
Now you don't have to. Now you get
now
your
you can
own.
Give them theirs back, and you can be like, I don't need yours. I got a nice shiny new one right here.
And I've also got awesome RT system software for it.
That's right. And I'm going to be purchasing one for my Kenwood Tri-Band HT too.
Awesome.
I need to get that analog one updated.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, congratulations, man. Now you get your own.
All right. Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So, again, congratulations, Alan. Again, everybody, thank you for being here.
Yes.
And thank you to all of our YouTube subscribers who are watching the free show tonight. Next week, we will be back to the regular process for the show, which is the 30 minutes live on YouTube. And then the rest will be for the BC Plus members. And if you want to find out how to become a BC Plus member, you can go to bridgecomsystems.com, click on BridgeCom University at the top, and in that drop down, there will actually be BridgeCom Plus, and that gives you access to all of our courses as well as special giveaways and early access to new products. Something you may not have known is that the BC Plus members were able to pre-order the new AnyTone 168 radio ahead of time before anybody else got access to order it. So, and Andy's got his right now.
Haha,
So that is what the 168 looks like.
This is the 168. I do not have it programmed yet, but it that will be coming down the pipeline.
So with that, I'm going to let everybody enjoy the rest of their evening. I know Karen's got to get ready for that storm. Karen, if you want, you're welcome to stick around for the BC Plus After Dark, which is our non-recorded part of the show where we have a general chit chat with all of our members.
Good rag
So
chew.
you're welcome to stick around for that for the rag chew. And again, everybody, congratulations to our winners tonight. And for BridgeCom Systems and BC Plus, I'm your host, Jeremiah, W9JEM, with my co-host,
Andy, KC9SKV.
And our special guest, Karen, Kilo Delta 4, Delta X-Ray 73.